Hey there, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. So I'm really excited to be one of the special investigator guest designers at CSI this month. And so this is the first case that I solved. It's case file number 321. And we had that picture with lots of cacti and a few other interesting features that could be translated into a scrapbook page to play with. So I'm using the Pebbles Lovely Moments collection and a cut file set by Handy Paper, and I'll put the link to that below. So when I looked at that amazing visual piece, I loved the fact it had cacti, which made me think of this collection because it has got lots of plants in it and cacti in it. And I love the way the cacti were at the top of the hat, and then I thought I'd love to make a planter box. So what I did was I went onto Pinterest and searched planter box just to, I just needed a visual. Like, I know what a planter box is, but I wanted to see a planter box that had a couple of, I guess, shelves on it. And then I wanted to recreate that with pattern paper. So luckily this collection has a lot of craft in it, which I think is beautiful. I don't mind if craft makes a comeback because it is gorgeous and it's a lovely neutral to add. And with all of the challenges at CSI, you can add in neutrals like white, black, I think grey and craft. And the branding strip on this piece of paper was that beautiful craft with white little polka dots, and I thought I could use that as well to make the sides of the planter box. So I had pre-cut my cut files and back them off camera because that took quite a long time. I just absolutely love that set. I think it's called Terranium, and I think you get about 5 terraniums and little succulents that I'm going to use as well. So because I cut them and pre-backed them, I also backed them in vellum just to give that glass kind of look. And even though the vellum is behind the plants, it still gives that hint of what it really is. And anyway, with the colour scheme, so it had orange in it, and that's because I was sticking to one collection, I didn't really want to bring in anything else, although I did bring in the thickers at the end. I found that a bit challenging, so I had to think about how I could add the orange in, because I think the orange and green were really the key colours in the case. So I had this Shimmers product that I got in a scrappery kit a few years ago. I don't even think I'd ever used it. So I tested it out and then decided to put some orange splatters. And you'll also see, they were at the beginning, but you'll see as I make this that I also managed to find some orangey red flowers to fussy cut. So yeah, I'll show you them when I get to them. So I wanted to make this quite rustic and quite realistic, or as realistic as possible. So I've really roughed up the edges with my little distressing tool. I get asked where this is from. It's from close to my heart, and I think I still have it. So find yourself a close to my heart consultant and definitely get one. They're really cheap too. I think mine cost about $12, and I've used it. I mean, I use it on pretty much every layout. I'm still definitely going through my distressing phase. So just distressing the tops of these as well to make them look like wood. That Shimmers had dried, so then I wanted to add a little bit more with some watercolour, and I'm just going for some green little splatters. So often I would use my water brush, as in the brush with the water in it, to do this, but to get even smaller splatters, I've learnt from, I think from Sue Plum, who designs in Cocoa Vanilla as well, and I've learnt that if you use a really small brush, you can get really small little splatters. So here's a little piece of mixed media advice for you. So yeah, I'm waiting for that to dry, but in the meantime I can continue on with making my planter box. So I've just used a little bit of double-sided tape, and I'm using my mat as a guide just to make sure everything lines up. And I've added some staples just for texture and to look like nails as you would have on a wooden planter box. So I need to lift this up and add some dimension to make it look more real. So I'm using my trusty cheap craft foam and some double-sided tape, and I think I add some liquid adhesive to help hold it down as well. So everything's dried now, and I've made my little planter box. I did question whether I should tuck those terrariums behind the, I guess the rungs of the planter box, or have them on top, mostly because I have The soil part of the terrarium I've used to craft kind of, well, you can see it there like a plaid pattern. But it's fine. I think the texture and the dimension added by the roughing of the edges, and also the fact that the bottoms of these terrariums will sit flat and the wooden shelves of my planter box are raised, it's enough of a separation so that it doesn't look too flat, if that makes sense. So now the most fun part of the whole layout was putting it together and deciding what went where. So I had to make sure I had enough space so that my elements on the second shelf didn't hit the top shelf, and that my elements on the top shelf didn't go off the page. And so that's why I was careful with measuring out and making sure things were straight, and making sure I had enough space between the two shelves of the planter box. So yeah, this layout went live I think last week, but I'm only just getting to do my voiceover now. Things have been a bit hectic here, a bit crazy. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes. I can't really get into it all because it's people's personal business, people that we know, and some not so great things going on in their lives that we've been helping them with. So if you're wondering where I've been, that's where I've been, as well as trying to get my business up and running after our lockdown. I mean, I was still up and running, but I've just needed to pay it a bit more attention at the moment. So I fussy cut out these gorgeous little succulents and cacti from the pattern paper. That's basically rows and rows of them, and I think these are little that pattern paper in particular made me think to use this collection to make my layout for this case. So it took a lot of patience, I guess, to fussy cut them out, because the smaller the plants, obviously the smaller the fussy cutting that was required, but it's definitely worth it in the end. There you can see one of the orange flowers that I've put in just to bring that hint of orange from the picture. I've left some of the leaves on, and I'm adding these with some dimensional adhesive and also some glue. So you can also see the succulents that I've die cut as well, and I've cut them in different sizes, just to I think maybe 3 different sizes, to make this a little bit more realistic and more interesting. And so yeah, just a lot of fun now going through and deciding what I want to put there. I love that wreath, love makes everything grow. I just thought that was perfect. My photo, I haven't even told you about that yet, but it's a photo of Brielle doing some reading in the lockdown, and Ava in her PJs just sitting there with her, and I don't even think they knew I took this photo. These are my favourite type of photos to document, and someone made a comment, I don't know if it was on my YouTube or my Instagram, that they love that I document everyday life, and that is definitely my favourite thing to document. I actually find event scrapbooking or holidays quite hard to do, but these kind of photos are my favourite. You'd think that you'd be able to just translate the same techniques or, I don't know, style of scrapbooking to any photos really, but I just think it's our everyday life that I love. I love our life, and I love capturing it, and the kids grow so quick. Yeah, I just love that I can look back on these kind of memories. And I'm actually gathering together all my 12 by 12s from the lockdown, before the lockdown and just after, and putting them into a 12 by 12 album. So I'll be sure to share that once I've finished them all. And as of yesterday, New Zealand went into alert level 1. We have no active cases of COVID in our country right now, so that's pretty exciting. It's a new normal though. We're not really sure what the normal is yet. Our borders are shut. Well, apparently they're shut, but I'm a bit confused because there are still flights coming and going, but yeah, pretty proud of our country for what we've achieved in doing that, and I just hope and pray that your countries can achieve that too. Obviously it's a bit easier for us here in New Zealand. We're an island nation, we're quite isolated, and it's easy for, I guess it's easier for a country of 5 million just to just lock down. It's not like we can't get out of the borders easily. So I also cut some pink flowers, little clusters of flowers, and they're not really in the colours of the case, but I am clustering them around the photo just to draw a bit more attention into the photo. So I like to curl up my edges, especially of flowers and leaves, to make them look more realistic. I'm also, as you just saw there, have heavily distressed the edges of the planter box just to make it look more realistic. And yeah, at the moment it's kind of looking like it's just hanging in the middle of the page. It's not very grounded, but I will fix that at the end. So the journaling I'm putting in a row along the bottom, and I think that picture had some wording on the bottom, and one of the clues was to add your journaling in a row, so I'm doing that as well. There's not really much to say. The photo's quite self-explanatory, so I'm just saying about them, about what time it was, during the lockdown where I was reading to Ava. Yeah, and now you'll be super proud of me because I struggle with washi. And like I struggle with frames, I think I shared that in the Hip Kit layout share that I just posted today, that I struggle with washi and I struggle with frames, and I'm so happy to get some washi down on this layout. So one thing I love about Pebbles is they are putting these little sticker pages, like you get 6 stickers and you get sentiments, flower clusters, sort of directed towards card making as well as scrapbooking, and lots of little icons. I did look at those cacti at the top of the sticker sheet and think, yeah, I could have saved myself fussy cutting and just used them. But to be honest, I like fussy cutting paper, and I like using paper on a layout because you can bend up the edges. It's easy to add dimension. It is with a sticker too, but it is harder to distress and lift up a sticker or lift up the edges of a sticker. It also has these beautiful translucent stickers. These are a whole lot of wreaths, so I just cut one in half and used it on a couple of places on the layout. I like that it breaks up the straight line on the bottom of my layout or planter box. So I've pulled the enamel dots as well, and I'm just I found, I think, a couple of sentiments that were going to work. I can't see what it says, but something moments that I've stapled onto the photo that came from the die cut ephemera pack. And now I have gone into my thicker stash, which is always a good thing to do, and just pulled some thickers to make my title. I don't know what else to call it, really, so I've just called it this ! And then I have machine stitched that on. I binge watched Corrie Jones's channel, and she talked about the importance of securing thickers and other such embellishments so that in the future when you go through your albums you don't find them at the bottom of the page protector, and I've had that happen recently, so I am making an effort to either glue or machine stitch, and I love that the texture of the machine stitching adds. So like I was saying before, this is kind of floating in the air about this one, so I needed a border to ground it. It was a hard decision because I won this collection from Pebbles and I've only got one sheet of everything, and I'm very grateful for that. Like, it was amazing to win it because I wanted it anyway, but it does mean that I have to sacrifice some of the paper. So here I'm just trimming off enough edge to be able to see my border, and then I'm gutting the inside. This is a technique that Shamel taught us all years ago, so that you can save some of the paper rather than use the whole sheet. So here I'm like heavily distressing again because it's my thing and I like the way it looks, and I'm loving how that's going to look on that green. Yeah, there were several options. I thought about the floral, but in the end the 2 tones of green go perfectly with my layer and help sort of bring in the planter box and sort of nature. Not really nature, but I guess growing, growth kind of green plant feel of my layout. So yeah, that's my layout. I had a blast playing along. Make sure you do come and play along. You've got the whole month and I think a few days into July as well to play along. So I look forward to seeing what you create, and definitely go find the group in Facebook as well. So yeah, I've got a photo of my finished layout. No close-ups this time, but thanks guys for watching.